So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I made a set of left, right, center dice just using some 2x2 and a permanent marker. I'm also going to show you how to play the game, what you need to play the game, and show you how simple and fun this game is to play with a big group of people. I will say that one benefit to making your own out of 2x2s, if you're playing with a huge group of people, like 8 or more, then it's much easier for them to see that left, right, center, so it's more involved, therefore more exciting for everybody. So this video is going to start with me explaining how I built the DIY set of wooden dice for left, right, center. And then if you want to bypass that because you're not interested and you want to just see how the game is played, you can fast forward to right around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and that's when that will start. And let's get to it. Now you can play this game for money or without, obviously, if you just use chips as your currency. The other good thing is it's made for all ages and it's an absolute blast. And the best part about this game is you're never out of the game until the very end. So if you want to just buy this game instead of build it, you can probably get it at Walmart or Target. I ended up getting a 5-pack off of Amazon for right around 10 bucks. The reason I got a 5-pack is I like to have one of these in each one of my vehicles because this has become a very popular game within my main friends and family. So I like to have one with me for all get-togethers that we end up doing, and it's just compact enough to throw in the glove box. So right here I've just got a piece of 2x2 wood, and I'm using my miter saw to cut perfect squares out of this 2x2 material. I ended up making several sets of this because we were doing a large get-together, and I wanted about 5 sets of these so we could play at multiple tables. After cutting them, I wanted to sand down the edges. This was actually the most annoying part of this project, was just figuring out how to safely sand these down where they had a nice rounded edge. This isn't even absolutely necessary, but I wanted these dice to roll around a little bit more instead of having those sharp edges where they were going to stop sooner when rolling the dice out onto the table. I also decided to sand down each one of the sides of each one of the dice a little bit better to give it a smoother surface as far as that goes. If I would have been smart about this, I would have sanded down the first 4 sides when that piece of 2x2 was nice and long, so I had more area to grab while I was doing it, but I didn't think about that till after editing this video. Once I finished that, all that was left to do was go ahead and label each side of that dice. You're going to need 3 dots. Now the dots represent that you do not have to pass any of your chips. You will also need an L representing pass a chip to the left, an R representing pass a chip to the right, and a C representing put a chip in the center or the collection cup. Now when I first made these, I didn't really think it mattered which way I put these dots and left, right, center on these dice. However, there is a little something to that, and I'm going to explain it a little later in this video. So now I'm going to do a quick explanation of how this game is played by actually playing a game, designating 3 people. You can play with however many people you want, and you can play for whatever amount of currency you want to play for. That is one of the main reasons I like using the chips, because you can designate that 3 chips is $5, etc., making it a little easier as far as that goes. It also makes it where you don't have to have everybody bring $20 in ones to a party. So here is a quick example of that. I'm making change. $1 equaled 3 chips in order to play the game. I threw that in the collection cup and then used the chips and put those in the collection cup as well as the game went on. So here is the components to this game. You have to have some type of currency. Each person is going to have 3 chips or $3, 3 quarters, whatever you decide to do as far as that goes. I like to have a collection cup to collect that money or currency or chips to make life a little easier as far as that goes. You have a throwing cup. I highly recommend using this, and I'm going to explain why. And then you have your dice. So if you'll notice, each one of these dice has 3 dots, 1 left, 1 right, 1 center. You'll notice that no matter what, there's going to be more dots on one side of this dice than another. Now, I actually did these a little differently. You'll notice that this dice has 3 in a row, whereas this dice only has 2 in a row and 1 off to the side. So if somebody realized that, they could try and just roll the dice in a straight line so that it doesn't rotate on a different side, and they have a 3 out of 4 chance of landing on a dot versus something else where they might lose a chip. So obviously, since I was trying to show you guys this, it wouldn't do it for me. But the other thing is, the dice that I made have a lot more rounded corners than a regular die, so they tend to bounce around and roll onto different sides more often than not. However, I did play with some people that were rolling by hand, and I watched a guy do this when he was down to 1 dice and practically never lost. And since I was new to the game at that time, it took me a while to catch on until somebody else demanded that we started using a cup. By using a cup, it almost completely eliminates the possibility of somebody trying to manipulate the dice like that. Now, one thing you can do if you are making your own die is you can offset one of the dots, so therefore there's only a maximum of 2 dots in a row on the die instead of 3. So the basic rules of this game is everybody's going to start with 3 chips. And when you have 3 chips or more, you're always going to roll all 3 dice. If you end up losing a chip and only have 2 chips, then you're only going to roll 2 dice. And if you end up down 2 chips and only have 1 chip, you're only going to roll 1 die. Besides that, you're going to roll and do what the dice tell you to do, meaning if you get an R, you're going to pass to the right, get an L, you're going to pass to the left, and you get a C, and you're going to put one in the collection cup or the center. A dot means you are allowed to keep your chip, and therefore that's what you're trying to get. So right here we're going to demonstrate how this game is played. There's 3 of us, but as I said before, you can play it with as many people as you can fit around a table. So right here is the first roll of the game, and there's an R, 1 to the right, an L, 1 to the left, and a dot, meaning she keeps 1 of her chips. After that, the next person to the left rolls. She had 3 dots, so she kept all of her chips. Then I rolled, I had 1 to the left and 2 dots, so I put 1 of my chips to the left and kept the other 2. Now because the next player only had 2 chips at the time she rolled, she only rolls 2 dice. And she did end up rolling 2 R's, leaving her with no chips because she had to give them both to the right. However, she is not completely out of the game because somebody could always end up passing her a chip again. The next person got a left, a center, and a dot, so she keeps 1 of her chips, puts 1 in the center, basically the collection cup, and gives 1 to the left. Now you'll notice that I'm rolling right now, and I got an R, an L, and a dot, so I had to give 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and putting the person that was out of chips to my left back in the game with 1 chip. But therefore she has 1 chip, so she only rolls 1 die, and it was a C, so she had to put that back in the center, making it so she no longer has a chip again. Now if the roll comes back around to her and she does not have a chip, you just skip her turn, but she always has a chance of getting back in the game if somebody eventually passes her a chip. For the first game that is played, I usually just ask who wants to roll first. However, the winner of the game, I usually make roll first in the next game that is played. So right here, we're getting close to the end of this game, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can make the game end. So right here, you'll notice that the person is about to roll, and they actually got 2 centers, putting her 2 chips in the collection cup and making it so only 1 person is left with chips, and therefore she would win. I like to play where it's a little bit more dramatic, and I make it go down to the final chip. So therefore, this person with 2 chips would have to roll 2 dice, and then the game continues. This can just add a little bit more drama to the game and make it more fun, or if you don't like it this way, obviously the game would have been over. So right here, you can see that we're still going because there is 2 chips left on the table. Someone here was struggling with left to right a little bit, but we got that figured out, and we are still continuing. So there is one small problem when you play this way. There is a possibility, which actually is going to happen in this game we're playing right now, where nobody else had chips except for 1 person with 2 chips. That person rolled and got 2 centers. Now, I have been playing this game for years now, and I've never actually had this happen, so it's funny that it actually happened to me while I was trying to demonstrate this game. Oh! So right here, you can see it happen, and I'll let you see my response because I have never had this happen. Never had that happen. So here's a little hiccup, and I guess the way I play, we ended up with 2 centers, so being as though that would mean nobody won, I guess you could do it where you play again, and pot stands, or I could re-roll. So instead of putting both of my chips in the cup and starting a new game, we decided to do a re-roll. I got 2 rights, moving both of my chips to the right, and then she rolled, and she ended up getting 1 to the center and a dot. So if she would have put 1 in her collection cup, she still had a chip on, so she would have won that pot. So once again, the game ends by basically the last man standing with chips, which would be this situation here where the person with 3 and nobody else with a chip just automatically wins. Or you can play it where last man standing with only 1 chip, which can add a couple little hiccups, but does add a little bit more drama to the game and make them roll until it is down to that final chip. The only problem with playing this way, it does add a lot more excitement to the game. However, you can end up with that situation of the final person with 2 chips rolling 2 centers and being completely out of the game, where I would make it so you just play another game and that pot stands, so you have a super big pot for the next game, or you can play it where that person re-rolls and the game continues that way. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you an idea on how to make your own DIY left, right, center, or go buy one, because it's an absolute blast to play with friends and family. If you did end up liking this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. The whole concept of my channel is to give you guys the most information in the least amount of time as possible so I don't waste your time. And I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Later.